Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Simply Real Health. Today, I want to share with you some of my most favorite fall healthy finds. And most of them actually are not really food, but they're items that kind of encourage really healthy behaviors and I think help keep you on track. At least they've helped me. So I just want to share everything I found the past couple weeks that has been awesome and that you guys may like too. So first up, I want to share with some of you, this has been in some of my Instagram posts lately. This is called the Day Designer, and I thought, I was introduced to this by my assistant, Callie, and she's like, I can't believe you don't have this already. I'm like, well, yeah, most of my calendar is on my phone. It's like on my computer. I don't really need to like go back to the old school planners. But I have to tell you that this little book, it's from the Day Designer, is changing a lot, I think, in my daily life. So the cool thing about this is that I love that every day you open up to it, there's a place for like the date, right? Actually, I don't know if you can even see this. It's the date. It has a place for today's top 3 tasks. So we all know, like, efficiency-wise, you really can only get 3 things done each day. Even if your list is like forever long, there's actually probably realistically only 3 things and 3 big important things that need to be done every single day. So you start your day. I like to have my little cup of tea in the morning and I sit down and I write these things. So today's date, it has a great quote of the week. It has your top 3 tasks you need to get done that day. And then it has a spot for everything else in sort of the other category for today. Like what else, what are your other sort of to-dos that if you have time after those top 3 get done, then you can continue on. And then on the other side, it has this other space for to-do. So I love this because it's not just work. It's like your personal life and everything else that you're trying to coordinate with your family, with your friends. Like it's your whole entire life planning in one day and in one book, which is kind of awesome. My favorite piece about this is that it also has a spot for a daily gratitude. So every day you're kind of forcing yourself to call something out that you're grateful for, or that something that you've been thinking about, something that's on your heart, that's on your mind, that you want to express some gratitude for. I truly think the more you look for gratitude in your daily life, the more you start to find it. And that changes your mental perspective overall too. What I also love about this is that on top, of course, this is the healthy part. On the top, it says like what's for dinner, right? So even in the early morning when you first wake up, you have to sort of have some plan for dinner. And I tell all my clients too, this is one of the smartest moves you can make, is to actually, before you leave the house, know what your plan is going to be for dinner, or at least know the area of town or where you'll be or what your options could be for dinner. And also do the same thing for lunch. Because if you go out in the day and you have no plan, like it's a lot harder to make good choices than if you know, you commit to like, okay, I'm at least going to know where I'll be. I'll know around maybe what time it will be, like, and to pick ahead of time something that's good for you and going to help fuel you instead of last minute scramble. You don't know what to do. So then you end up eating out and you're at the whim of all these different choices that could happen. Okay, so that one's at Day. I'll put links to all of these things in the notes below, in the links below, but this is from daydesigner.com. They have a few different types and planners, but I just love this concept and wanted to share it with you guys. Okay, second favorite thing, some of these are kind of silly, but I'm just obsessed with these, is leg warmers, right? Like back to the 80s, but they're actually really helpful for turning like my yoga capri pants into winter wear. So as the weather's changed, I'm able to get away with like wearing more of my capris, even like, you know, during the day when I'm working at home for myself, but also when I am going to a class and it is colder in the morning, but you don't want to be working out in pants. These are like so cozy. They actually work. These ones are from Amazon. So I have them in gray, and then about a week later, I ordered them in black too. So they're really great. They're like pretty inexpensive. They're kind of fun to wear. They help keep you cozy and warm. And side note on this, I think a lot of times when the weather changes, we get this sort of instinct that we want to be cozy and warm, and we just gravitate towards food that's warm and drinking lots of coffee and things that are warm. But also think about all the other areas that that could mean. Like, how else could you warm yourself up? So buying cozy clothes, having a really awesome blanket, like doing things like leg warmers or really great cozy socks. Like sometimes those are enough. That's all you're actually really craving. It doesn't always have to be like related to food and wanting like to comfort yourself with food that's warm. Okay, next up on the list is something that is kind of a warm beverage of sorts, but this has been my favorite tea lately. It's the Yogi Tea Peach Detox. It's actually pretty sweet tasting, but it doesn't have any added sugar. It doesn't have any added stevia. It's really good for that like mid-afternoon time when the sun is starting to set now at like 4:30 and you still like have a lot more to do in your day. It's kind of a nice little way to go. No caffeine, so it won't keep you up at night. But has a great flavor to it. So I'll link to that one below as well. Another thing on my list as we get into the foods are, and before I share this, I know this is not actually like a completely pure thing. I use it because I think it like really enhances, it turns something like a tea into this like thing that I feel like is so luxurious and feels like such a treat. I don't use it every day, but I think it's like a great option to have around. So these, this company is called Nut Pods. So I don't know if you can see this very well. So Nut Pods, and they have this creamer that's made with almonds and coconuts. And so compared to most other creamers, if you don't do dairy, most other like milk alternatives have so many weird things in it and so many gels and so many gums and so many emulsifiers. And I like that this one actually has just such a shorter ingredient list. You find it in the refrigerated section, like at PCC or Whole Foods. And it has a few things that are a little bit strange, but I think overall it's so much better than most of the other stuff that you'll see out there, especially if you don't do great with actual regular cream. So this has a much sort of heavier texture, and they have a French vanilla flavor and they have a regular flavor. Even the French vanilla, it doesn't have a ton of added sugar. It's just from a vanilla bean. So I love this. It gives like my tea, that afternoon tea, a little bit more thickness sometimes. I also love blending it with yerba mate tea. So I'll blend some yerba mate or brew some yerba mate in my French press with loose leaf tea and then pour it out and pour a little bit of this in, and then I will use this next thing on the list, which is like a little mini foamer. So you guys, I've never owned something like this. This is like revolutionary to me that I could turn like tea or the days that I do coffee and turn it into like this really foamy, creamy little treat. So it has a lot to do with texture, I think. So I literally will just add tea, add a little splash of the nut pod, and if I'm feeling extra crazy, like a splash of honey or a splash of maple syrup if I want something sweeter. But most days that's enough. It has enough substance and texture to it that it's just feels like a great little fall treat. So I would definitely recommend getting one of these. I know they have them at IKEA and also at Amazon. That's where this one's from. So I will link to this again in the notes below, but such a great thing to have on hand. And on that note of other fun warm bevies, as I like to call them, is getting yourself some matcha tea. So matcha tea is like powdered green tea. So it has tons of antioxidants in it. It has tons of flavonoids, so all of the great things you hear about green tea, but it's actually even stronger because it's like the leaf that's ground up pure instead of steeping it. So I love it because it makes me feel energized. It's not for everybody. It does have a bit of like an earthier taste, but again, it's like thicker than a tea or thicker than coffee, so it's feels more satisfying. So I've been doing these matcha tea lattes you may have seen on Instagram with like a teaspoon of this matcha blended with like half a cup of hot water and then maybe a splash of the nut pod milk or my homemade hemp milk or homemade hazelnut milk, whatever I have on hand. And I will just pop that in a blender or use my little foamer, and it's like such a treat. But it's not something that's going to make your blood sugar rise and then crash. So you actually feel really good and energized and stable after you have it and not the other way around, which is how most like holiday drinks are, let's face it, right? So just a few different things you can do. Again, like it's awesome with any type of tea, but this matcha tea is, you can't find it everywhere where it's unsweetened, and that's really what you want to look for. You want to get the stuff that doesn't have any added sugar, doesn't have any added powders or strange things. So like doing this at a natural food store or somewhere that has like bulk, a bulk section that you can buy it and try it. Maybe just buy a little bit first and see if you can handle the taste. You can always sweeten it a little bit with a natural sweetener if you want to. Okay. Next up on the list of healthy things, I just have to share these crackers I found at PCC. They're like $1.99, I think, and you get 3 different packs, but it's a purple rice and black sesame cracker, so it's gluten-free, and I love that the ingredients are so simple. They're easy, the texture is great, they're super crunchy, they have great flavor. So if you want to like crumble some up over soup, it's just a good alternative, especially for those of you that are gluten-free like me. Instead of corn chips all the time, where you're just eating corn a lot, this is a good like alternative to kind of mix it up a little bit, just give you a little bit more texture, taste. Again, you can use them for parties too, as we kind of go into this holiday season. But really great, really like nice little thing to pop in your cart next time. Next up, these too. These are my favorite thing right now. They're pumpkin spiced pumpkin seeds from Trader Joe's. And I almost didn't buy these at first because usually things that are like flavored means that there's something weird added to it. But in this case, it's pumpkin seeds, sugar, butter, and pumpkin spices, which are ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, and salt. So yes, this does have a little bit of sugar in it. And yes, it does have a little bit of butter, but the sort of taste and the texture that it has, you don't need that many of them. Like these are great over soup. It's perfect like to finish off a salad. I've even been doing like even just one tiny sprinkle and like making my own granola without any grains. So I'll use like flax seeds and chia seeds and some regular sesame seeds, whatever, chopped pecans, chopped walnuts, like, and just a little sprinkle of these and mix it all up. It makes it taste like the whole thing is sort of like sweetened, but it's not. So it's one of those great things, even if you're gonna make your own trail mix. It's one of those, you're getting like a sort of seasonal fun flavor, but you're without eating like tons of sugar and tons of strange oils and that kind of thing. It's still pretty simple. So a fun thing to play around with. Okay, that's it for the food section. But other section, I've still got a lot to share. So this other one I did post on Instagram the other day, which is like huge. This umbrella is amazing. It's one of those cute little bubble umbrellas that like completely cover you this way. So it's nice because when you're walking down the street, you're not like whacking people in the eye, like just with everybody walking with their umbrellas. So I love that it's totally covered. And because it is, you also don't get the wind factor. So it's much more stable. Like your umbrella is not blowing everywhere, which means when you're in this sort of like bubble, you can actually take walks and it could be completely pouring out and you're totally safe from the wind and the rain. So for that reason, it's one of my healthy picks now, is that I found myself being able to go on a lot more walks when the weather's turned, and just I have less to complain about and less that is going to keep me from actually getting outside and getting fresh air. So highly recommend that. They have this at one of the stores I love in Seattle called Pipe and Row. She's another small business owner, so I love that. And then you can also get this on Amazon too as well. Next up is wanting to share with you some of the stuff, even from like a mental game of things that I always find that when I have more motivation, right? Or like when somebody else inspires me, or things that tend to inspire me tend to be things that I'm learning about or challenging myself with or growing. So a lot of time, I always make sure that I'm, have at least one book that's sort of motivational, inspirational, whether that's from like a health standpoint or a business standpoint, or something about cooking, or it's something about life, something that kind of sort of challenges my brain and is very uplifting to be around. So I find that for learning, right? And learning about all these different things that interest me. That can help, I think, when the weather turns and when we enter fall. It's really important to still kind of be feeding your brain good stuff, because that's truly what multiplies, I think, in your head over and over and over again. So something I've been loving doing lately is just podcasts. Like, I am obsessed with podcasts. I think I've had to buy more data on my phone because I listen to them all the time, and it makes me want to go on walks, and it makes me like really happy when I'm just standing in the kitchen cooking, but I'm listening to something that feels like it's a lot more productive, or that I'm learning something, or getting some sort of inspiration out of for my own life. So I just wanted to share with you a few of the ones that I've been loving lately. Some of them are classics, and then I have like found even more than this in the last like couple weeks. So stay tuned. I may have more to add to this list. So right now I loving, one of my favorite podcasts is called The Model Health Show. And it's a show about health, but I just love his style. I love the way he explains things. And he really knows his stuff, which I find hard to find actually in this space. Although there's so many people that talk about health, not a lot of people like fully get it, and or are not just on board with one type of diet or one type of thing that worked for them, but looking at it as like a more holistic piece where every part of your life like is influenced by the things that we choose to do and choose to eat and why. So love that, The Model Health Show. Second one I love is Bulletproof. If you've never listened to that, it can be a little bit more not risque, but like has some other different opinions than you would find in the mainstream media and mainstream messaging, especially when it comes to your health. So definitely worth checking out. Another great podcast is The School of Greatness. And that is just sort of a general inspirational. There's lots of great interviews. It's done by a pro athlete, sort of turned motivational speaker and coach. So he's got a lot of great things to say, a lot of good speakers on. The next one I'm loving lately is called Wellness Mama. So again, the ones I'm listening to are obviously going to be more health-based, but I think she does a great job of explaining things, especially geared towards moms and people that do have families or want to have families one day. Some really good information there. And then the last one that I've been loving, I just sort of found her, was what's called Wellness Wonderland. And so she really goes more into like the spiritual and mental and emotional piece of health, that I think is really, really helpful and so fascinating, the types of people that are doing great work in this world from all different angles. Okay, so I hope you loved it. Those are my fall picks for this November. And if you have any other really good things that you have found that have helped you, I would love to invite you to share them below, share in the comments, wherever you are, on the blog, on YouTube, and let us know. Here's to a healthy and happy fall. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.